His loving kindness, it just abounds towards us. His faithfulness, the fact that he's merciful and he's gracious. And then you see that actually lived out in the life of Jesus and how he moved. As you read through the Gospels, you see him moving with people, and you see that coming into a very personalised, approach to the real life issues of people, and how then Jesus moves in those spaces with all the qualities of God in his sinless ways as a man, being empowered by the Holy Spirit to bring people to life in accordance with those very character qualities and of who he is,
I'm still connecting your picture of God saying, "This is who I am," with part of our vision around a family embracing the Father's presence. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to picture this powerful, almighty Creator sitting there at the table with a Father's heart. Mm. My mortal mind and heart can't quite grasp the gravity of that, but part of the reality of us coming into having permission to come into his presence around his table.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's several invitations to the table in Scripture, that God gives us. He tells us to set a table in the presence of our enemies, where we stop and we're dining with the Lord, even in the presence of things that surround us that are trying to thwart his purposes. There's that great wedding banquet that we're called to for eternity with him, as we sit around that table with him again and enjoy his presence in his fullness. And so it is mind-blowing. It's inconceivable in any other way than the pure gift that it is of God's grace and the faith in which we exhibit when we walk in line with him and call on his name, and then we're invited to sit at this table with him. It is mind-blowing. It's unfathomable in many ways, but that too, I think, is we're called into the Father's presence. He's not distant. He's not cold. Yes, in his holiness, he's other than, and we've got to always have that strong reverence, that awe, that fear of God. It's the beginning of wisdom, and the wisdom that is true life is found in doing that very thing, of revering God and then coming and being humble enough to bow ourselves before him and seek forgiveness and ask for him to lead and control and take that control aspect of our lives over. And it's then we start to enjoy his presence even more. And it's not a passive thing for me. And I guess I'd love to hear, that our church understands that when we're embracing, and embracing is not a side hug. It's not a fist pump. It's not passive in its approach. It's an embrace. It's intimate. It's close. It's hanging on to. It's holding into. It's lingering. It's different than just a casual. You don't embrace casual acquaintances. You embrace the ones in whom you love. Mm. And I think we're called as a people to embrace his presence, not just give a tacit understanding that, oh, yes, his presence is everywhere. He's God. That's part of his omnipresence. Yes, true in the nature of God, but what we're called to do is embrace his presence, is to recognize when he's amongst us, with us, moving in our midst in ways that we can then embrace and say, yes, I'm present here, as present as you are, with wanting to be with us. Our response is to engage in that in a very positive way, rather than just a standoffish or even just a semi-warm kind of way. Yeah,
can get messy too, can't it? I mean,
Oh, definitely. Definitely, because part of the embracing of his presence is releasing of what you're holding on to. You know, it's a kind of, you've tried to embrace someone while you're holding things, you know, it's kind of a little awkward, you know. I think he's asking us to give that stuff up so we can embrace, and an embracing of what he wants to do, an embracing of where he wants to go, an embracing of his kingdom values, and embracing of those things. And they run directly against what the world is saying all of the time, and where the temptation lies within each of us to try to lay hold of those other things and hold on to these things at the same time. I want to hold on to these things, I want to try to hold on to God, and the mess comes mostly in us learning how to let go of the stuff that we're holding on to and embracing him. But then, of course, in embracing him, it might look messy because it's not as neat as when we try to take control. And from my own personal perspective, you know, I like things neat, I like things orderly, I like things routined, I like things knowing that A plus B is going to equal C, and it's going to, you know, do all of that. And I don't think that's so much of the kingdom, you know. God is dependable, but he's not predictable. Like, you can depend on him. That's the trust aspect that we were talking about before. You can trust him. He's good, but he's not always feeling safe because his ways are greater than ours. Our minds can't comprehend. Like we're talking about, the comprehension of coming into his presence even, let alone, you know, this idea that he lives within us and wants to live through us, requires a complete surrendered abandonment to what he wants to do.
You talk about like holding on to stuff or being in control of things yourself, but in terms of as a church, what things do you think we need to let go of to grab hold of the better things that God's got for us?
I think churches, and not just ours, I don't think we're much different to a lot of other faith communities and you know, Christian communities and church. We tend to do stuff for ourselves. We tend to want to be, feed me more, teach me more, look after my kids more, make sure my teenagers are going down the right track a little more. Is it comfortable? Is it how I want it to be? We come in to see what we can get, whereas the kingdom is nothing to do with that at all. The kingdom is totally, you relinquish all of that. You say, this is not, it's not for me. I'm not coming for me. I'm not here for me. I'm here for God, and I'm here for others. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all of your strength. In other words, in every fibre of your being, in every part of who he's created us to be, in every aspect of our lives, make him number one. Let his priority be your priority. Lay down everything before him. That's the hard part. And then the second hardest part, and can only be done in his strength, is love others the way in which you love me. That's how I want it to be, you know. And so that second round of loving others, we have to come and let go of what we're getting out of things, so that we can come and literally minister to God. We minister to him as we come in. But then we've got to go out. And even when we're coming in, we're in an awareness of God's presence, and that we're here for him, to worship him. And we're helping our brothers and sisters and those who don't yet know him experience that same very thing, his glory. And that's to worship him. And so, you know, when we do that, then we can go. Then we can love others the way in which he's loved us, and to live out that second of the greatest of the commandments. And so I think that's hard. You've got to let go of self. And it's the same walk as a church that it is as an individual. I mean, the church is just a bunch of individuals coming together under the one name. So the same journey and the same wrestle and the same struggle we have as individuals, we have as a church. Surrendering, letting go of, seeking Him, serving Him, and laying it all down for Him and for others. And you can have that as your tagline as a church, but we're humans. We tend to want to make decisions that are easy for us.
Reminded of the need, as you said recently, to push back from the table, because we can sit there and keep feeding, get over full.
And this whole this whole analogy of sailing is part of that. We aren't a great big, you look at Riverlife and you say, well, it's a massive building and massive church and lots of people, and all of those things are true. But what impacted me with the time with the Lord at one point in a time of soaking, and just the vision that He gave me was, we're not a cruise liner, jump on this big vessel with everything you could ever want to spend on holidays, You've got slides to entertain you here, you've got movies in there, you've got theatre performances here, you've got reading libraries here, you've got buffet meals here, you've got bars there, you've got dance floors here, you've got all the bells and whistles and the things that, all contained in this one place. And that's not what we're called to be, We're much more like a sailing vessel. One is, we're not under our own steam, we're not under our own motor, we're under the wind of the Spirit, and where we've got to pay attention to that to keep moving, and that's really important. We're not here just to entertain ourselves and to keep ourselves happy, and we all believe something similar, so therefore let's keep it just like that and make sure we're all happy. That's not what we're here for. It's not the kingdom. Kingdom's expanding constantly, and our role is to be playing the part that He has for us and continuing to usher in His kingdom. He brings it, we don't bring it, but we kind of show the way. As we allow Him to bring His kingdom through us, and so that does take a relinquishment of, okay, we're not here for my own pleasure. I'm not here for those things. See, the wind's picking up. We've got to work out where we're going.
Yeah, Amy, just guide in the direction that the wind is in the sail. Yeah, we'll bring it out the other side. Probably just hold that line. Excuse me, John.
Yep. I'm going to keep this on about 1 o'clock.
You've got an attachment rod.
Yep. A little bit further that way. Oh, sorry, no, that way. Yeah, you're right. You got it right. See how you can see the wind coming on the water, guys? It goes from flat to... Right, let me get back on camera a sec. Just about to ask you a sailing question, John. Yeah. Yeah, just hold that line that you're on. So just head...
the end of that island.
Yeah. Straight out to sea.